إيمان وايلة أكسيدنت اتنرابا ناشا ليطي متبصل طاقة شكلي اتلا نسيانة بدانا كيسس الانجري لو و بيالباية قريمة إن آتن ينكل باتت بيتا خزموخن يطانة اتلوخن بوقارة مخبرون المنيان التلفون 8 أربع شوا وشو 8 تري وشو 5 خا إشتا يعني توكن بيت injuryrights.com شمي إلى توني كالاغراكس كي يمزمن لشان خلية ديما.
Welcome to Assyrian National Council of Illinois. Where we provide home care services for the elderly 60 years and older. For over 20 years, ANCI has worked closely with the state of Illinois to strengthen and expand our home care program. We currently service the Chicagoland area, including Cook, Kane, and DuPage counties. If you are interested in finding out more about our home care services, please visit us at our Chicago or Streamwood office.
Yeah, so the point of this lecture, this is the Assyrian Young Professionals panel. We're going to do a quick chat with each person here, just very brief. They're going to tell you a few things about themselves, and then we're going to move to questions. I'd like for this to be more open. You guys can ask questions, and I want to just thank a few people. First of all, A and F, again, for putting this together. All of us are Assyrian advisors. We're a part of Assyrian advisors. I'm the founder. This is the vice president. I'll just say this, without Alex, I can't do any of this. I mean, this guy doesn't sleep, and he'll put everything aside to hustle for his nation, so thank you, Alex. Quick round of applause for Alex. So for Federation, real quick, I'd like to say thanks to the executive board, Osh, Alan Musheg, Osho Shamun, Alan Musheg, Karo, Shemmi, Peter Warda, and who am I missing here? Alturai, secretary. Anyone else? All of those people work hard to make this happen every year, and we're very, very, very thankful. And of course, the board. So Marty Umaran, he's the one who brought us in years ago, and Gloria Masieko had also facilitated that. She's here. She'll be giving a talk on the Assyrian Entrepreneurship panel. So big thank you to Marty Umaran. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll save my chat for later. Actually, I'll do it real quick just so they have some reference. I had studied accounting in undergrad. I did well in that, and I had Assyrians in my network that had done really well, and I had been working in accounting and had gone to Oracle. It's a technology company, done mergers and acquisitions. Law school afterward, I went to Berkeley Law and grinded that out. I did well, and went to and did big law at a firm called Kirkland & Ellis. I did mergers and acquisitions work. But my point about Assyrian was I wouldn't have done any of that stuff without the community I had, right? I had seen certain Assyrians who had done really well, and I was like, okay, I can do well too. They did it. They grew up in similar circumstances. Why shouldn't I be able to do this as well? Of course, my parents who are here were tough on us, and they wanted us to be really good, in sports. We played tennis growing up, my sisters and I. and we were forced to push ourselves. I think that's kind of what I linked back to Benny with the Syrian fighting spirit. There's this like, determination in our people that pushes us forward. So without that, none of us, I think, would be here. So it was other Assyrians I saw who did really well. I can cite a few of them, like Elmer Abbo. He has like every degree possible. MD from University of Chicago, which is like an elite school. JD Law, so he has a law doctorate, an MD, an actual doctor, and then also he decided to get his MBA at Northwestern Kellogg after. So it's like he has every degree. It's insane. I was like, this guy did this. I can get one of those, right? So that's what I did. I pushed myself to get that. So that's my background. I started Assyrian Advisors in 2017. It was the brainchild of seeing these people and getting help from Assyrians for my applications myself. Hannibal Travis had helped me get in. He went to Harvard Law. He's a law professor. He's my cousin from my dad's side, my second cousin. But it was an Assyrian who helped me write my apps, go through and figure out what I'm going to do. Even at the time, I think my cousin Jonathan, I had him read my app, right? I was like, hey, can you read this? And he's doing his MD PhD. He's finished his MD PhD. He's a neurology resident now. He's working at Stanford now. So he'll talk about that. But without Assyrians, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I started Assyrian Advisors for that reason. I wanted Assyrians to have access to people to get them into schools, to get them jobs. We've gotten people into the best med schools, law schools, and so on and so forth. Many of them have come back now to become advisors. At the time, I think Civet had used Assyrian Advisors. We've had Lexus had joined after. Peter, I think, had talked to people. He's a co-founder as well. So that's the origin of Assyrian Advisors. We wanted to bring Assyrian education forward and also bring it and make it like a centerpiece of convention. So that was the goal. It was to kind of, back in the day, Assyrian convention was like thousands of Assyrians would show up here and, suits and ties, and it was a grand event and it was wonderful. And for a little bit, we had gone away from that, right? And we're bringing that energy back. So I'll also circle back and say thanks to some of the people who've raised me up over this journey. Without people like Gloria Masieka, who's here, she's giving a talk on the entrepreneurship panel tomorrow. I wouldn't have been able to run this as smoothly. I can't do this on my own. I need people with experience to guide me. So thank you, Gloria. I love you. So that's the longer spiel. I'm going to go ahead and get started with Peter, and then we're going to come back. We're going to come back this way. So if you guys can just quickly introduce yourselves, say where you're going to school or where you went to school and what you're doing for work. You don't need to get into details too much. And then what we'll do is open up you guys will have to talk a little more because we currently don't have a mic because of technical difficulties. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, talk about what you're doing for work or what you plan on doing, and then I'll pass it back to me. I want to kind of know a little bit about you guys in terms of like, what do you guys like to do for fun? How do you stay fit while you're doing these professional degrees and all this hard stuff? So why don't we go ahead and get started with Peter over here?
Hi, so I'm Peter Lazari, co-founder of Assyrian Advisors. I was born in Iran, in Tehran, moved to Austria for about 6 months when I was, 3 years old, and then came to San Jose. I was in San Jose. I originally was studying computer science at San Jose State. For some reason, I don't know, switched majors 2 years in, still don't know why, but switched over to biomedical engineering, applied to dental school, went to Loma Linda University about an hour from here, and then now I'm in Brooklyn, New York, doing oral and maxillofacial surgery residency. So I just want to say about Assyrian Advisors. So I feel like when you come to America, first, second gen immigrant, whatever, you're a little bit of a disadvantage because you may not have the connections that other people have. The people that are going to private schools maybe have family members at whatever big law firms, big tech firms, all that. So the goal of Assyrian Advisors is to kind of try to even that out. And to be honest, I think we're at an advantage now because every single time I've reached out to someone Assyrian in this network, they help me out so much more than anyone else ever would that's not Assyrian. even myself, when I help someone out, like someone just came to Loma Linda, just started dental school. I mean, it was deeper than just some tips about interviews, right? He took over actually my lease at my apartment, and now is living with one of my close friends over there. So yeah, you guys should utilize this. You have even just in this room, I'm looking around, there's some amazing connections you can make. I don't know what career path, you guys are going into, but I guarantee you there's someone in here that could help you out. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Peter. Hello, everyone. Do you need a seat? For you? Of course. We'll do it. Hello, everyone. My name is Lexis Boza. I'm in my 4th year now at NYU dentistry. I got involved with Assyrian Advisors way back when I was a pre-dental student. They actually connected me with a great dentist I shadowed in LA here for a while, and then she wrote me a great letter of recommendation, and then, here I am now. So it's awesome to be able to give back and be kind of full circle and help the next generations of Assyrians maybe, succeed in dentistry or whatever field they're in. I have a little bit different approach to what I did in dentistry. I was offered a scholarship through the U.S. Army. So I've been in the Army now 3 years. They gave a full ride scholarship to dental school. And this scholarship kind of goes for anyone in any healthcare field, right? So medical, optometry, dentistry, so on, so on. So if you guys have any questions about that, it's a great program. You're not going to war or anything, but you do a dentistry for the military and you get a full ride and you get a good life afterwards. So I have experience in that. So if anyone has any questions, and then also he's doing oral surgery, but I just got selected for prosthodontics residency. So if you have any questions about prosthodontics or the future of that, happy to answer. And yeah, thanks again for showing up.
All right, thank you so much, Lexis. My name is Marina Gabriel Zia. I started my undergraduate degree in UC Davis and in biomedical engineering. I graduated from that in 2018 and went straight into my PhD in biomedical engineering with a research focus on cardio-oncology, where I did cancer research and cardiovascular research, essentially addressing the question that a lot of cancer patients have heart problems later on. And so I found new chemotherapy treatments where, I studied them on a single cell level in the heart and found, the signaling and functional effects of those chemotherapy treatments, and was able to get new combinations that can treat cancer and not cause heart problems, which was really exciting. So I just graduated from my PhD actually a few weeks ago. So that was really, thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. That was really sweet. And so I'm starting now as a postdoctoral scientist at Stanford. And so for my new position, I'll basically be creating a lab-grown heart for heart transplants and for research purposes, which is really exciting. And so how we do that, just really quick, we're just basically making microenvironments of the heart, and we can fill it with cells and what the heart needs. And instead of 3D printing plastic, we're going to 3D print cells and create a functional heart, which is really exciting. And so yeah, so that's kind of been my path, and that's what I'm starting in a few weeks. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about biomedical engineering. I'm super passionate about it. Honestly, I think it's the coolest major. There's so much you can do. And I just want to say at the end of the day, when it comes to Assyrian Young Professionals, you guys, we're very lucky. We do have a community, as everybody mentioned, that really, truly, deeply cares for each other. And even more than that, we're a community that's centered and Christ-centered and focused on God. And truly, I tell you, I would not have gotten anything in my life or anywhere nearly this far if it wasn't for God's grace, and it's all for God's glory. So thank you so much. All right, I'll pass it. Thank you. I'll pass it now to my husband, John.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Zia. I went to undergraduate at Arizona State, where I studied electrical engineering. And while I was at Arizona State, I got involved with some research around Parkinson's disease, and I joined a laboratory where they were studying computer science and the intersection of computer science and health. And during my time in the lab, I got involved with artificial intelligence and machine learning. And at the time, it wasn't quite the commodity it is today, and it was quite novel. And we studied trying to find markers of Parkinson's disease and to use for like diagnostics and treatment. And that really spurred my interest in medicine. So while I was at Arizona State, I'd heard about special tracks within medical school. So I applied for something called a physician scientist training program, and these are NIH or National Institutes of Health funded positions for people within medical school who think that they have some kind of bent towards scientific research. They'll actually fund medical school, and then also they'll fund you to get a PhD during medical school. So I applied for that program after undergrad, and I ended up at Emory University, which is in Atlanta. And I did my medical school there, and while I was doing my medical training, I got my PhD from Georgia Tech and also electrical engineering, and kind of focused in the same area, just this intersection of like AI, machine learning, and health. And so afterwards, I since started my first internship and now residency at Stanford. So I'm at Stanford Hospital doing my residency in neurology. And I think broadly, I maintain an interest in not so much scientific research, but really in engineering and entrepreneurship. I think the core motivating factor in my career is, especially in the United States, this concept of like a physician scientist has been codified very well. And so in my career, I'm very interested more in like entrepreneurship, engineering, and trying to bring about a little bit of a paradigm shift towards like a physician engineer rather than physician scientist. So that's kind of the crux there, and that's what I'm currently doing.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Shalom aleichem. My name is Sivet. B'nai Urmi Ben. So I was born in Iran, and I pretty much lived in Turlock, California my entire life. I went to Stanislaus State University and got my undergrad degree there. And then I had the pleasure of meeting people through the Assyrian advisors that helped me get into medical school at UC Davis School of Medicine, which has been phenomenal. I still don't know what type of physician I want to be yet. I kind of went in, I was an ER scribe for a very long time. I like adrenaline, trauma, that kind of stuff, so we'll see. Right now, I'm thinking emergency medicine, but we'll see. But to touch on like the Assyrian advisors and our Assyrian community, one of the main factors that I decided to go into medical school was health disparities, understanding like cultural humility, and that's something I think we don't have in our Assyrian community. There aren't a lot of Assyrian doctors in our small town of Turlock, California. So a lot of the times our Assyrian community ends up having to go to different practitioners that don't know our community as well. And some of that plays a big part in your healthcare and how you're taken care of. So I don't know what type of doctor I'll be, but I know where I'll be practicing, and that'll be in Turlock, California. So.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Hammy. I'm from San Diego. I went to San Diego State University for undergrad, and I graduated with a biology degree. And then I took about a few years gap to do research in autoimmune disease. And during my experience in college, I also did research on chemotherapeutics. My passion for medicine kind of stemmed. It was like a culmination of things growing up. One being my grandfather, who was the biggest influence on me, and then just other small little events in my life that kind of made me grow towards the field of science and medicine. But I currently go to an osteopathic medical school, which is nearby. It's called Western University. So we learn more of a hands-on approach to medicine. It's very similar to an allopathic medical school that you would, same education. We just learn an extra step to medicine on top of everything else that we already have to learn. So I kind of got connected with Assyrian advisors recently. I've done a lot of mentoring throughout my past. I come from a smaller Chaldean Assyrian community in San Diego, so having that community around me was a huge part of like who I am now, obviously. And there's not a lot of people in medicine from where I'm from, so I really did have to look to like family members and people, like, very little people in my life for guidance and support. And I've always wanted to give back to my community because they shaped who I am. So it's a great pleasure to be here. And for anyone who has questions on medicine or even osteopathic medicine, I'm very much open to helping and doing as much as I can to educate people on it.
My name is Alex Samano. I'm a recent graduate from the University of California, Berkeley. My major was in data science and biology. I just want to say thank you again to Brunil for a warm introduction. Thank you to all of you guys for coming. It's a wonderful process putting these events together, and it's, you guys coming out and listening to us that makes it all worth it. I recently connected to Assyrian Advisors in terms of my life. When I was 18 and I was entering college, I was reached out to by Assyrian Advisors, by Brunil, and it was one of the most impactful decisions that has happened for me. Pretty much, as many people here have mentioned today, Assyrian Advisors connects many of the professionals in our own community to young professionals, college students, recent graduates, graduate students, to try and give them opportunities, give them the ability to succeed in their own career and avoid many of the pitfalls that they might have had in their journey to getting to where they were at. For me personally, this has meant working with many of the greatest people I could have met so far. Gloria Masego, as Brunil mentioned earlier, at Silicon Valley Advantage has been a wonderful experience. So many other people in this community have been a help to me, have been a help to everyone here, and will continue to be a help to all of us. So I'm really grateful. It's amazing to organize these activities for the community, organize these activities so that we can all have resources to expand, succeed, and achieve so many different causes for the Assyrian community. Eventually, I want to be as successful as many of the people on this table. I want to go off to law school maybe in the next few years and give back to the community in my own way at that time. I think that's it. We should have time for questions at this point. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, so just a quick correction. Thanks to AGN and Steve Nasseri for videoing all this. I know it's a lot of work, and we appreciate you guys. We have a gap in our media and television, especially in the U.S. So thank you guys for taking that on and recording all of these. Great introductions. Some of the people in the crowd, I didn't know, like Dylan Shamoun would show up. Dylan Shamoun. He wrote as well in the Assyrian Star. We'd revived the Assyrian Star, which is the oldest running Assyrian publication for Federation in 1952. So that was a ton of work. We did that in parallel with organizing all the education events and activities. So it was a lot, and a lot of the authors came in at the last minute to help pull it together. So excellent work, Dylan. His articles, you can find it. A lot of you I see with the magazine here, and they're also outside and downstairs. So thanks for coming. He's a Columbia law grad, and he's going to be working at Latham & Watkins in, I think, corporate now, so corporate M&A. So I think let's just quickly talk about something kind of interesting. Benil and them said they like what they like to eat. I think all of you seem to take your health and fitness seriously, as well as your obviously your academics and careers. So can we hear what do you guys like to eat, maybe day to day, and then what's your favorite Assyrian food? Can we just hear that? I'll start. I think my grandma's here. Where is she? Hi, Nan. I have to say, my favorite is kipte. So I'm like a sucker for that. It's very good. She makes it really good. And then other than that, I eat pretty strict keto just because I gain weight very easily because of Assyrian genetics. I don't know. But I'll do donuts for sure. So, or baklava, right? Okay, so Peter?
This is kind of a sad topic for me because I feel like I went to college at home, so I would study, come home, and there would just be a lineup of the most amazing, whatever it was, dolma or masabzi. I'm not even gonna. And then I moved out, and then all of a sudden it's like I'm eating like canned tuna and just like eggs. Thanks. Hello? Oh, okay. Yeah, trying to keep it, you know, I don't even want to say keeping it healthy. It's just that's all I'm capable of at this point. So I'm trying to work on that. But I'd say being at the hospital, like the first 2 weeks, I was doing 24-hour shifts every other day. And there's only so much, like, you know, if you just work for 3 hours straight, let's say, and then you want to have, I don't know, a burger, you can't really do that because then you have to be able to stay up and keep working for another 20 hours, you know? So you have to, at some point, you have to kind of watch what you're eating and just make sure you have energy throughout the day. So, yeah.
All right, this is kind of a random question for me, but I'm a bad influence. I know I'm a dentist, but I eat a lot of candy, so don't listen to my advice. I'm not gonna even put it out there what I'm eating per day. It's, you know, relatively healthy, but, you know, just brush your teeth after. It'll be fine. My favorite Assyrian dish, though, is prache, so if anyone's got any, I'm ready.
All right. So honestly, I got pretty lucky in the genetics department because I ended up having a pretty quick metabolism. So I'm just pretty like petite, I guess, naturally. So I don't really work out anymore. Otherwise, I feel like I'd kind of disappear, if I'm being honest. So, but I still try to eat healthy because it doesn't matter, like weight-wise, you still have to eat healthy to be healthy. So I got really lucky. My husband grills really well, and so he grills for me all the time, and that's honestly what I eat daily. But my favorite Assyrian food is I'm good for a classic shororoza. Like that really hits home for me, honestly. Yeah. But I mean, otherwise, I'm not gonna lie, I do like donuts a lot as well too. But that's probably my favorite sweet and treat.
Yeah, I'll echo that. It's really hard in healthcare because some days you don't get to eat. But one thing that's worked for me is while I'm working to stick with a paleo type of diet, for lunch and dinner, I try not to eat anything that I can't grill. So like vegetables and meat. And what I've kind of tricked myself into is pretending that I'm doing intermittent fasting. It's really just that we can't eat during the day. So I call it intermittent fasting, and that's actually helped a lot. It's more for the psyche. And then favorite Assyrian food is dolma. That's the only correct answer.
Okay, so again, undergrad at home, my mom's food is amazing. I think my entire med school roommates, all of them love Assyrian food now. But I think overall, I will agree, in healthcare, it's actually really hard to eat as healthy as you want, especially when you've been like working for a long time and it's hard to meal prep and pack stuff. I'm blessed enough that I'm kind of in the middle of my hometown and where my dad goes hunting. So God bless my mother's soul, she packs a lot of food and my dad drops it off on his way to hunting. And so we're set for the week. It's great. But overall, I am really into weightlifting, and it started originally just to kind of lose weight in the beginning. And now it's been an escape because we tend to glamorize medicine a little bit, but it does get hard some days. And it's been a great escape. It's something to just kind of let go, unwind, don't think about anything for a little bit. It really helps. So I don't worry about food as much. Thank you.
Like Savette, I kind of have a similar, background with food, but I did also go to undergrad at home, so I ate a lot of my mom's food. My favorite food is dolma. So whenever I come down to San Diego from like a few weeks of studying and not having any, she has it ready for me, which is really sweet of her. Apart from that, my diet kind of is really sad and boring. I try to stay away from too many carbs because it tends to slow you down, especially when you have long days of studying ahead of you. So what I'll do is I'll meal prep protein and veggies usually for the week, and then I eat salads and eggs in the morning. So but I do have a really bad sweet tooth, so I always will have something sweet around me just to snack on and keep me a little bit energized during the long study days.
For me, I guess my most interesting dietary choice, Brunil has had a bit of an influence on me in terms of keto. It is interesting. You don't have that like foggy feeling that you get from eating a lot of carbs. So it's good in that way. You will begin to see that a lot of the foods that you thought were boring or didn't really taste good become some of the most tasty foods that you can have in a long time. So like a Quest bar goes from being some, worse version of a candy bar to like the most tasty thing you've had all week. So, that's been fun. I do weightlifting as well. I've been getting into it recently. Similar to Savet, it started out as a way to lose weight, get in shape, but like it's become, something fun, something interesting. It can be a bit of an escape when you have so much stuff to do. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So, hello? Yeah. So let's go ahead and field some questions, and I'll just kind of frame it like this. Like, why don't we go ahead and have you guys ask, what do you guys want to know? Even folks who are parents and things like that. What do you guys want to see young Assyrians doing? Are you guys happy with what we're doing? We work very hard to make you guys happy, okay? All of you guys, our parents, like what Benil said, honor that father and mother, even though they are tough on us, it's worth it, right? So what do you guys want to see from the youth? And I'll ask these kids here, and they can answer. And other people, if you have questions specifically about their career paths, like we have some of the younger people, if you want to ask, please go ahead. After we field questions, I'd like to talk about a few things, and then we'll move to the next lecture. So anybody have any question? I see one in the back. I see one in front. I'll go there, and then I'll come back.
What would be one advice that you would give young Assyrians to be successful like you?
I think one piece of advice that I would say to stick with is just to do things that you're passionate about and stay disciplined. I think, in our world now, we have a lot of distractions around us, especially with social media and instant gratification. So, find something that you enjoy doing and just stick to doing it. It'll help you stay disciplined. It'll help you to be more appreciative of just the little things around you. And I think it'll push you in the right direction as well.
Okay. I have a very deep thought about this one. I think in order to be successful, no matter what you do, look at your circle. Iron sharpens iron. So it's very important to know who you surround yourself with and how you're pushed. So for parents, watch your kids' friends. That's very important. For kids, what's that phrase? If you want to see who you are, look at the 5 people you hang out with most. So for me, growing up, I don't think I'd be where I am now. One, if it wasn't for God, my family, and then my best friend. Like we competed, my best friend Brenda is here, we competed throughout our entire life in like a healthy way, but it was very much, we motivated each other, we pushed each other. On the nights you have to study for hours at a time, you have someone there to look to for support, for comfort. And so know your friends. If you want to be successful, your group really matters, so who you surround yourself is very important.
I think what my wife said at the beginning is very important. I think the faith in God is the most important thing. And, I really think that, in this world, if you have success that does not come from God, it's hollow. And I'll give a little example. When I was in medical school, I'd done a couple years of medical school. I was just starting my PhD. And I'd been working in a lab for about a year, in a neuroinformatics lab. And it was maybe a day or two before the new semester started. I had an email from my boss, and he said, frankly, I'm not going to be taking any new students this year. He kicked me out of the lab. And I was really blindsided by that. I'd been working there for a while. And so I was composing an email to my program, basically telling them that I'm going to drop out of the program. I really didn't have any more motivation to continue. Out of the blue, I had an email from a professor I talked to maybe a year before. And he said, I remember we spoke a year ago. I had a good impression of you. We should chat over coffee. So I didn't resign from the program. I went to have a chat. He asked me to join his lab, and really it ended up being the best experience of my whole life. Those few years, it really catapulted my career where it is today. And that's obviously was God's plan for my life, because the timing couldn't have been any more perfect. And so that's not something that any amount of preparation could have prepared me for. And you know, if you want to be successful, I think if you want to be really successful, you can't plan it. It's something that you pray for and you work for and it happens. And I think if it happens any other way, it's not, you know, at the end of the day, it's not really success. It's really hollow. So I guess those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and building off of that, I also want to add that a lot of times how I think of it is, you know, we're all born naturally with God-given passions and with God-given strengths. And, you know, success comes from working hard, yes, but it also comes from realizing that, you know, it says in the Bible, it says, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And truly, he will bless every step of the way. And I think there's a misconception that you can only get somewhere if you're lucky. You can only get somewhere if you're naturally, like, really sharp. None of that is true. I mean, really, you only become successful if you really put in, to be honest, the hours and work hard. You know, sometimes you have to be a little bit more aggressive. The colleges and universities will never hand things out to you. They will always expect you have to fight for what you want. So really don't be afraid to fight for what you want, especially with these universities here. But at the end of the day, God has a purpose for your life, and you are called to bring glory to him and to fill out your purpose. And he will help you do that. I mean, he's opened doors for me, which I can't even begin to describe and couldn't fit into 5 minutes. But he will do things, and it's more, it brings glory to him because they're things that you know yourself that you couldn't do by yourself. You know in your heart, you're like, I could not do this if it wasn't for God. And that's really where the glory comes in. And then you could tell other people about it, like what I'm doing now. I won't stop talking about it because it's so amazing. But yeah, that's where I honestly think that's the advice that I would give.
And kind of going off that, my biggest advice, I guess, would say for someone young, like, be realistic with your talents. I don't want to sound like, but you know, if you don't like reading, don't try to be a lawyer. Or just because I see it in dental school all the time. Oh, half my colleagues, their parents are dentists. They're just doing it because their parents are doing this. But if you don't have passion for it, like, you're not going to be successful. I mean, you might, but like, you're better off choosing something that you actually have true passion for and you enjoy every day, and you'll be successful no matter what field. You can be successful in any field. So just go off that. Don't just go based on, oh, I want to just have this title, or I want to have, like, be a doctor just to be called a doctor. So that's my advice.
So I have two pieces of advice. The first one, I might be a little biased, but use Assyrian advisors. If you're, like, you know, early stages of college, you don't really want to know what major you want to go into. I mean, you have just about every single career path in this room. Talk to all of them. See what kind of information you can get. You know, don't sit there and just Google everything. Like, you know, have real life conversations. And then the second piece of advice is I would be not afraid of failure. First, I think second month of dental school, I was failing one of the most basic parts of dental school. It goes to the point where one of my faculty was saying, you know, maybe this isn't for you, and maybe you should go be a biology teacher at one of the high schools. And I just didn't let it get to me. And then now, I was out of like 140 of us, there was 2 of us selected to go into oral surgery residency. Now next week I'm going to give a talk to the first years about what I did my first year to get here. So don't, you know, I don't know, for those of you applying to healthcare professions, I know you've heard of Student Doctor Network. It's like the Reddit of these kind of applications. It's toxic. All it does is it's just people stressing each other out. Stay off of it. Stay off this Reddit and all that stuff. Just, you know, talk to people and stay confident in yourself. So yeah.
I guess my piece of advice would be, don't be afraid to experience failure. Don't be afraid of adopting a mindset that says that your identity and your, like, worth as a person is defined by if you're going to succeed in college or not. Because I know a lot of students, especially the ones who have gone into Assyrian advisors, they have really high expectations for themselves, and they end up making success their identity, and they're never willing to experience failure. Failure defines your character. Failure allows you to understand that even if something you didn't want to happen ends up happening, even if you don't get that research position, even if you don't do the best on that test, you are still, you know, here, you are still working, you are still waking up every day and making your dreams a reality. And I think that bleeds into everything. You have a lot of students who say like, oh, I have to be a doctor, I have to be a doctor, I have to be a doctor, because we're Assyrian, right? We tell them that. So their idea of failure, for example, would be not achieving that. They don't consider maybe law or engineering or some other field that, you know, Alexis was talking about might be something that's more for them. They're never willing to kind of expand and see within themselves what they kind of want to do for their future. So that's kind of my advice. I think a lot of people call it imposter syndrome, where you think that, you know, you're not as good as people around you, and so you make success your identity. And so I think that's a really big part, a really big mindset that people, if they adapt early, makes a big difference. And if you're ever in doubt, you know, God has a way of making things work out for you. So that's my advice.
Okay, so first piece of advice I'd say is embrace the suck, because right, like this is it's a long path and it's not fun, right? All those hours, like I know all of you guys sit down, it's like cold, all your friends are going out, let's say it's hot, it's summer, all your friends are going out to have fun, or it's cold in winter, it's raining, it's depressing, you're sitting there studying at 3 a.m. for these exams, and we're like, why am I doing this? Like I'll just go do something simple. Like I don't need to do this. But I think that links to the second piece, which is like our community is tough on us, but I think that's essential. Like when I was a kid, my parents were like tough on us, right? It's like, and I was like always getting kicked out. I was causing a lot of trouble. I was a troublemaker, and they would straighten me out. And if they didn't do that, I'd be screwed, right? I'd be in trouble. So like, I think that's something that comes from the Assyrian community. We have a system where we check our kids and we keep them in line. And growing up, it's tough. But when we grow up, we're like, wow, like if that didn't happen, I would be in a lot of trouble. So I think that's important that our parents instilled that in us. It's something that's generationally passed on. And it's a community thing. If you look like at Assyrians in general, like I've had random like Armenian folks or like whatever other Middle Easterners, Persians and stuff. They're like, every time I meet an Assyrian, they're always doing well. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we know ours who are, you know, or not. We have our own flaws. But like I'd say generally for such a small community, we do extremely well. And we find ways to like, you know, pull each other down, have issues. And I'll quickly get into that right after this. But I'd say on the whole, we do very well, and I'm super proud of being Assyrian. I'm like, when I was a kid, I was like, well, what does this mean? I see other folks, American kids and various ethnicities. Now I'm like, oh wow, like this is powerful. This is cool. I have a community. How many of your friends, non-Assyrian friends, are at a convention with thousands of Assyrians getting together? Like you'll never see that. So we're very rare and we're very lucky. So. The other thing is we need to help each other. So like all Assyrian success, like it's great, right? Now you have all this money, you've succeeded, you have prestige and status. I mean, how many Ferraris or Lamborghinis do you want to buy? How many big homes do you want to buy? What is that? What is the purpose of your life, right? Like your community is everything, and we're fractured as a society. Everyone's on their phone, on social media, no one's talking. But again, look, all of us are here together, spending time together. We have this amazing community. Look at these people. Like, I'm blessed to be around them, right? So I'd say helping each other. That's like the other big thing. It's not enough to do good for yourself or well for yourself. You need to help other Assyrians. And I had experienced that growing up where I was like, you know, sometimes there's this friction like they don't want to help. Some Assyrians didn't want to help. And I was like, I'm going to create an organization, Assyrian Advisors, that will never let that happen. You're going to get help. If you're Assyrian, you're going to get help. Right? And that's like that is the culture that we have to have. Okay, I know that was like pretty tough and deep there, but like coming from the food stuff. So let's go to like a few more, like we'll field one more question or two more questions. And then we'll wrap it up. But you guys, I'm super proud of you guys too as advisors and as people. It pushes me as well. So let's get a few questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nico Rumteen. I'm a rising senior at UCLA. Thank you for hosting a great event. But I was just wondering what sort of events do we have throughout the year so that we don't necessarily have to wait for a convention or something like that. We can kind of meet and network and learn from each other.
Okay, that was a really important question. I wanted to bring that up, so thanks for asking, Nico. Also, good job on UCLA.
That's all I have no idea.
Is this better? Well, that's way better. Yeah. Okay, so events, right? That's like a big question mark. Obviously, we have this event that's big, but we need to do it more frequently, right? And that's why I had Wilfred bin Alkhas here. He wrote an article for the Assyrian Star, which was great. He's also giving a talk tomorrow about mobilizing Assyrian youth as his lecture tomorrow. I encourage all of you to go there. He's the president of Assyrian American Association of San Jose. We are going to move a lot of Assyrian Advisors events there to bring you guys together and to enjoy each other. Gloria is very close with Wilfred, and we'll be working together to make that happen. I'm very excited about that. For a long time, we didn't have that opportunity. And they're both extremely positive. Wilfred's extremely positive. I love it. In fact, before he came to this convention, he said this, I'll always remember it. He said, how much are we going to dance and sing and talk about these things that are just fun? This is very important. I understand culture is very important, that part of our culture. But then also it's like, what are we going to do next? What comes next? I mean, I'd like our country back. I know that seems like a dream, and maybe it's crazy, but I think it's been done by other ethnicities. I'd love to be able to do that one day and say we have a home where our people aren't back home in Iraq and in the Middle East dying, right? Or have nothing. So creating economy, we can talk about that later. And actually, I encourage you to read Dylan Shamlin's article in the Assyrian Star. You wrote about that, about creating economy in Iraq. And I'll just go back to Wilfred. So yeah, will we have events? Yeah, that's the goal. We haven't had that for a while. We have this, which is amazing, and we're grateful to AANF, but we'll have to do more. I'll just pop into Gloria.
We're going to do an event on November 17th.
Here, I'll hand you the mic.
So the next event, just for now, announcing it, we're going to do an event on November 17th. It can be at Shotaputa or at our office. I'm happy to host it. But Martin Umaran is helping greatly, and it is Assyrian entrepreneurs and professionals. So at least for now, we have a date for the next event, and hopefully that will lead to perhaps having something quarterly.
Awesome. Do we have? I think we can do one or two more. Okay, we got one. We got two. So these will be the last two.
So, hi. So earlier, you touched on imposter syndrome, which is all I've been thinking about for the last hour to ask you all. Thank you for joining us and sharing with us your experiences. For us that are going down our own career paths, say it's in tech industry or whatnot, imposter syndrome is a real thing. So if you have, and I hope you haven't because you're brilliant, you obviously have tuned into what God has given you on your life path, but have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if not, and hopefully not, how do you get through those days where you're just not sure if you're on the right path pursuing any career?
So we're going to have Sivat answer.
Okay, so as a third-year medical student now, I just took step 1, which is one of our really big board exams back in April. I don't think imposter syndrome had hit me as hard as it did right before that exam. When you first start out medical school, there's so many brilliant people around you and you feel like you just don't belong. There comes a point where for me at least, it was a lot of community building where I realized once I got really close to a lot of my classmates and we had deep conversations of this is where I am and this is what I'm feeling, and you realize everyone is going through it. And imposter syndrome is not something, I think every single person that's in any type of career that's demanding feels it. And for me personally, the one way I got out of it, I realized that I just need to, 1, fake it till I make it,
But 2, for me, it was my devotionals. Like right before STEP, I don't think I was as grounded in my faith in med school as until that moment where I said, okay, I know I've been kind of like running for med school, but I'm going to stop and I'm going to remember that I'm a human and that I'm going to make mistakes and I'm not perfect. I don't know everything, but I have strength. I have God on my side. I'm here for a reason. I have a purpose and I'm going to remember that. So everyone needs to be able to find a way that works for them to ground themselves again and remember that you are more than your career. You are more than your success. And at the end of the day, you are a child of God and you're grounded and it's going to be okay. But just fake it till you make it, because that's what everyone else is doing. Even if they say they're not, they are.
Okay, so I think just hold on to that mic, or let's switch.
Okay.
Here we go, one more question here.
Okay, first off, thank you all for being here. It really has been a humbling experience, but it's also been really nice to hear everyone's experience. My question is, what would you say is a skill that someone who's new in your field should have going into your field?
I think, especially since all of us are somewhat in the medical field or are in the medical field, I think communication and teamwork are two really important skills to have. Communication, one, because you need to be able to have good patient interaction experience and be able to talk to your patients and make sure that they do understand what you're saying or what you're trying to treat them with or whatever is going on. They need to be able to be on the same page as you, and then on top of that, being able to communicate with your whether or not you're in medicine too, because I think communication and teamwork are obviously they go hand in hand, but also being able to collaborate with your coworkers or your peers or whoever it is, that's very important. So I'd say 5 years ago I was really shy and I wouldn't be up here if it were me 5 years ago, because I was very kind of just shy and closed off, but I forced myself out of my comfort zone in order to be, one, a better communicator and also be a good collaborator with other people. So definitely work if you feel like you struggle with one aspect in your life in terms of like a specific characteristic, like maybe you struggle with public speaking or speaking to other people, definitely put yourself out of your comfort zone and put yourself in positions where you can work on that so that you're more comfortable in unexpected situations.
I'm going to really quickly echo every single thing she said, but also add on, learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, it is okay, especially in healthcare. I can say you get thrown into situations all the time where you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need help. And sometimes you feel like it could be very intimidating to ask for help, but it's also okay. So just remember that you're going to be in uncomfortable situations no matter what field you're in, and just learn to adapt. Like, go with the flow. Adaptability is the name of the game.
Okay, so thank you guys. Let's get a big round of applause for all these brilliant people. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. The next panel is Assyrians in STEM. So if you need to go, run, grab quick water outside, use the restroom, make it really quick. We're going to try to get this one moving pretty fast.
Welcome to Assyrian National Council of Illinois. Where we provide home care services for the elderly 60 years and older. For over 20 years, ANCI has worked closely with the state of Illinois to strengthen and expand our home care program. We currently service the Chicagoland area, including Cook, Kane, and DuPage counties. you are interested in finding out more about our home care services, please visit us at our Chicago or Streamwood office.